what you just said.
Welcome back to the show.
Take care, Polly Wally.
Never heard anyone in my life who's more insane than Paul. He's out of his mind.
Stop him! Stop him! Stop him!
Hell yes!
Little hoop action.
You can put it on the board! Yes!
How you doing?
It's PA 9 to noon on the Fan.
9 to noon.
Just listen.
Time for two more.
Yep, here we go. On a Thursday, Happy New Year, everybody. This is 9 to noon, and I'm Paul Allen. The producer is Eric Nordquist, and we are privileged to begin 9 to noon today with one of our favorites, Chris Finch, head coach of the Minnesota Timberwolves, courtesy of Prize Picks and Second Harvest Heartland and twoharvest.org. Chris, Happy New Year. How goes the grind?
Yeah, Happy New Year, PA. The grind is good, man. The grind is good. Can't complain. How about yourself?
Things are well, thank you. Got a big one for the football team Sunday night, and your coaching cohort, Kevin O'Connell. I mean, that's a big one Sunday night, and it'd be cool after you guys play the Pistons Saturday in the Motor City. How about you stick around and take in the Vikings-Lions, Coach Finch?
Yeah, it might be fun. I might just do that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
it's going to be a good one, though.
Yep, we have a spot in the broadcast booth for you if interested. Now the Celtics are here tonight at 7. They shoot 53 pointers a game. That's astounding. Or am I overstating it?
No, that's pretty impressive. I mean, it's definitely a commitment to the modern game. They basically play basketball mathematics. They got a bunch of guys who can they do a good job of creating threes. They break you down. They play a lot of isolation and break you down and try to drive and kick. But they also got guys, who can just rise up and shoot over top you. And, and if they're making those, then it's really problematic because there's not much you can do to guard those types of 3-point shots.
So this is a group where every player they have shoots threes, right? And you guys have been good defending the 3-pointer this year, at least pretty good, right?
Yeah, we've been one of the better teams. Traditionally, we have been. With Rudy in the center of your defense, it allows you to stay home a little bit more. We also have really good length on the perimeter and good athleticism, so we're able to cover a lot of ground when we're caught into rotation and get there pretty quickly. But if you can boil down the NBA right now into one thing, and the team that makes the most 3-pointers on a nightly basis generally wins. Not always the case, but if you're making upwards of 20 threes a night, that's 60 points. Most teams are scoring 115, and so you're more than halfway there just from the 3-point line.
What do you think of that philosophy?
Well, I think I've long been a big advocate of shooting more threes, but they have to be good threes. They have to be threes in the flow of the game, and they have to be threes by guys who can make them, not just threes for the sake of threes. Last year we shot the threes very, very well. I think we led the league percentage-wise, but our volume was a little bit low. This year we put more emphasis on a higher volume, but we haven't been able to connect. So it's a little bit of cruel irony there, but that'll come around. We've got good shooters taking the shots that we want, that's for sure. But I think it's hard to it's just hard to make enough twos some night.
In the OKC game, what positive steps did you guys take in that game? I mean, like down 3 late to one of the best in the league, definitely proves you can play with them, or is that a loser's lament?
No, I mean, listen, I thought, we had about a 7-8 minute meltdown. We turned it over at a super high rate. I mean, we knew coming into the game, if we took care of the ball, we'd have a really good chance to win. We took care of the ball for most of the game, except for, that third quarter where we had 12 turnovers alone. I mean, we just didn't respond well to the physicality. We had a bunch of careless ones, and we just fed their offense. What I took from it is that, if we take care of the ball the way we're able to guard them for most of it, we won all other three quarters. We just can't have a 43-23 quarter, which, to be honest, we were up 10. Rudy misses a dunk. That leads to an 11-0 run by them. So they take the lead. We don't score again. 12 turnovers in that stanza, and just hard to survive. But we fought back. Even, 2 minutes left, we cut the game to 3. We rebound and miss, and we turn it over again. They get a dunk. I mean, we turn it over in the backcourt. So it's just, self-inflicted. A lot of those were self-inflicted too. So, but what I took from it is that, we're not a million miles away from where we want to be.
Julius Randle's minutes in that game were down and seemed to go to Nas and others. What led to that?
Yeah, I mean, I took Julius out in the beginning of the fourth, thinking that I would get him back in to, kind of help us finish. But that lineup that was in there just kept closing the gap, and seemingly had a pretty good rhythm. And I just kind of stuck with it. That's what I've been doing lately, is just leaving myself the freedom and the latitude to kind of ride a hot lineup, even if it means like deviating from a normal substitution pattern. And it's been paying off. It's been different guys that have been maybe left out of the run. It certainly wasn't like an intentional thing. So.
Right. Does when circumstance like that takes place, given Randall's still so new to the team, does Julius handle that okay?
Yeah, absolutely. It's not the first time that's happened to him. It happened to Rudy in Houston. It's happened to Mike Conley. It's happened, and we said this about our team in the very beginning of the season. Like we're going to try to finish games with the lineup that we feel, it's giving us the best opportunity, or maybe has the best chemistry, or can take advantage of whatever's happening on the floor at either end. And sometimes you stumble about these things, and sometimes they're a little bit more kind of pre-programmed. But it's incumbent on all of our guys to handle it. And we have, as we've said, 8 kind of starter level players, and it's some nights it's going to be their night to finish, and sometimes it's not.
Chris Finch, coach of the Minnesota Timberwolves, weekly 9 to noon, courtesy of Prize Picks and Second Harvest Heartland. Learn more about that charge at 2harvest.org. Chris is on the board. Why is the lineup with Julius Randle and the bench group, why has it been so good for you guys?
Yeah, I've been driven ton by Julius's pace and playmaking. And then got a bunch of quick decision makers out there, good shooting lineup. One thing our starting lineup doesn't do a great job of, although I thought we did a good job yesterday, it's been a major point of emphasis, is playing faster, But those blended lineup, the second lineup with Julius kind of playing point forward, has really kind of kick-started us into games.
How Josh Minot? How is he helping with the minutes he's getting?
Yeah, he kind of fits perfectly alongside the lineup we were just talking about, because he's a great activity, gives us a transition threat. He's a great cutter, has a good feel off the ball, gives an added length and athleticism. Seemingly making a bunch of plays around the rim offensively. and defensively, helping to rebound, and just kind of, fitting in where the game needs him, which is exactly what we need him to do at this point in time, and then staying ready to knock down some shots when they come his way. He's had a really good shooting year overall. Hasn't necessarily translated to a high number of attempts during the game, but he's been shooting the ball extremely well since the summertime.
DiVincenzo seems like he's mostly settled in, completely settled in.
Yeah.
I mean, the OKC game probably could have been a little better, but up to that, he was on fire, man.
Yeah. I mean, I think, he's feeling more settled. I think he's got a good chemistry, in particular with that second unit, and Julius has done a great job of finding him. And, they have a good two-man game, from their history in New York. So we've been able to kind of benefit from that. And, he's not living and dying with whether a shot goes in. He's doing other things. He's creating opportunities in transition by pushing and passing. He's reduced his turnovers, so that's led to, better shots for his teammates. He's rebounding, which he does for a really high level for his position historically. So he's back, contributing there, and his defense has been way more solid and impactful. So playing an all-around game for us right now, which is what we knew we were getting in him, and it's great to see.
Edwards, Anthony only had 12 shots in that Thunder game. Is that because Lou Dort plays him as well as anybody in the league?
Yeah, I mean, for sure, Dort, is an outstanding defender, physical, denies him, picks him up, makes him work. But, they trapped him in all sorts of ways. They trapped him in pick and roll. They trapped him in ISOs. They just took the ball out of his hands and made him give it up. And he did a pretty good job of staying patient when he did give it up. Unfortunately, a lot of times we were maybe turning it over in some of those possessions elsewhere. But, they were bound and determined, like a lot of these teams are, just to not let him play a free and easy game.
Two more. Are you guys planning for Porzingis tonight? He's missed a week of play.
Yeah, I mean, we're not 100% sure, but we'll definitely plan for him. And he changes the formula out there for sure with his size and ability to shoot from deep. So he fits their philosophy overall. He's been an outstanding acquisition for him, but they're very, very good without him too. So, but he gives them another level of complexity to a game plan when you're trying to prepare.
So in closing, as you guys try to find stride, all right, stride that know the team is capable of finding. And it really doesn't go back to last year's Western Conference final run because this is a new bit. Is it fair to say, bottom line, that you guys are still trying to gain cohesiveness with all that is new and patience still is required?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, listen, this is a very different team than last year, and that's the reality. I mean, we have good players and we have some chemistry, and we certainly have some continuity, but it's a different team, and it's taken a while, and it just does. We didn't add low minute guys. We added two guys that play 60 plus minutes a night. Out of the 240. So that's one quarter of all your lineups, and there's a lot to figure out. I think we've won 9 of our last 14 or something like that. It hasn't always looked pretty. Maybe we'll never be a pretty team. Sometimes you got to win ugly and you got to win however it comes. But I've been really proud of our guys, and they're battling. They've come back from some deficits to win some games. We've just played a run of teams and continue to play a run of teams that are all plus 500.
Yep.
So it's not and that's the league. I mean, you look around the league right now, PA, one of the things that you see going on in the league, there's such parity, particularly in the Western Conference, but all across the league. And if you're 2 games above 500 and 2 games below 500, it might feel like the sky is falling, but you're 2 games out of maybe 4th, but like it's all right there. We got 50 games yet, and we feel like we're figuring some stuff out, and we just got to keep polishing our skills and our chemistry, and we'll get better. So.
My man, tear it up against those C's tonight, and once again, Happy New Year. Thanks for everything, and we'll talk soon, okay?
All right. Appreciate it. Thanks, P.A.
Yep, see you, buddy. Chris Finch, courtesy of Second Harvest Heartland, 2harvest.org, and Prize Picks. And the 9 to Noon radio show is courtesy of TimberTech and TimberTech.com with the What's on Deck portion, which will include the play-by-play voice for the Detroit Lions around the corner, Dan Miller, one of the better in the National Football League. Nacho Lieber joins at 10 o'clock, and NBC's Mike Tirico joins right around 11. Mike Tirico, play-by-play voice for NBC's Football Night in America. He'll be calling the TV portion of the equation this Sunday night, 7:20 Central from Ford Field, in a battle for the 1 seed between the Vikings and the Detroit Lions. Around the corner, Dan the Man on the Fan. You're listening to KFAN.
The Fan.
Wants the snap, hands it to Gibbs. Outside right, he's got the first down and more. 25-20, 15-10, 5, end zone, touchdown Detroit Lions. Jahmyr Gibbs on 3rd down and 2, breaks it for 30, and the Lions have a 2-score lead on the board.
Dan the Man on the Fan, Dan Miller, 2-decade play-by-play voice for the Detroit Lions, joins us now. Good morning, my brother, and Happy New Year.
Hey, same to you, PA. How you doing?
All right, man. I wonder what trick play offensive coordinator Ben Johnson will run during this one. Maybe, I've looked back at some of them. When you dusted off the stumble bomb, I think that caught everybody by surprise. Maybe it's the fumble Rooski on Sunday night. What do you think?
Yeah, we've been wondering what's next. That kind of seemed like the envelope has been pushed as far as we'd seen it. Probably, Panay attempting to throw a pass, which never came off earlier this year. That was one we've been waiting for. So I'll be honest, I don't know. There always seems to be more. When you think he's emptied it out, there always seems to be another one coming. But I think it's interesting. It keeps the players engaged. They love it. It's worked more often than not, but it obviously comes with some peril as well, because sometimes you're getting kind of loose with the ball handling. But whatever the case, I'm sure whatever they've got loaded up, this is the game you want to bring it out for.
In putting or starting the game calling depth chart for the Life Changer Sunday night, the Lions have the best offensive line left to right in the NFL, and I'm not the first to say that, but the experience of some of these guys for a game like this. Decker, game 126, Glasgow 132, Ragnow, Chanhassen, Minnesota go crazy 96, Zeitler, this is his 214th game. That's not a bad thing to have in a game like this.
No, it's not. And look, there was design there. This team's built around that offensive line, and everything starts there. And that's, they wanted to run the ball. They hadn't run the ball in Detroit, and forever they can run the ball now. They wanted to protect Jared Goff and give him time to throw the ball. They've obviously done that. But there's a lot of assets up there. You're talking about 3 number 1 picks. You're talking about a free agent in Zeitler and a former draft pick in Glasgow who left and came back. So, they have really put a lot into that. And like I said, it's by design. That's really the face of this team. While people may talk about Goff and Gibbs and Amon-Ra and Aiden or whoever, for this team, they really feel like it's built around those 5 guys.
Fox. I see old Anzalone was limited at practice. Anzalone back on the field, maybe just like putting a toe on it because limited is so subjective, but perchance he returns?
I think there's a chance, yeah. I think today will tell us a lot, where they really go out and hit it today. Yesterday was more of a walkthrough.
Mm-hmm.
So I think they had their eyes on Anzalone getting back, final game of the regular season, first game of the playoffs. And, obviously, look, their pass rush right now is not top-notch. Anzalone's a good blitz guy. If they can get him in there, I think they'd love to have him in there, but it's going to depend. I think physically, in terms of being ready to go aerobically, I think he's ready to go. I think it's a question of that arm. Is he ready to trust it? Is he ready to go out there and the doctors give him the okay? But I think he's really close. And I would say I think there's a pretty decent chance he's ready to go this week.
I remember him in New Orleans, and he couldn't stay on the field. And then he gets with the Lions, and he's playing most of the games. And, with Anzalone for the Lions, correct me if I'm wrong here, Dan, but, he's a heart and soul guy for that defense, right?
No doubt. And a guy who struggled early in his time here. He missed a lot of tackles his first year with the Lions, and a lot of people didn't understand why they brought him back. But this coaching staff had been with him in New Orleans. They really like him. He is a heart and soul guy. He's a much better athlete than I think people give him credit for. He can fly around the field, and he's now a fan favorite around here. I mean, it really went from why in the world are you re-signing this guy to him being one of the more popular guys on the team and pregame introductions, getting the massive ovations. And he's really embraced this city, and this city has embraced him back. And that's the case with a lot of these guys. And look, winning certainly plays into that. When you're winning, everything's better. And certainly Anzalone has ridden that wave, but he's earned it with the way he's played, too.
Has wide receiver Jameson Williams entered superstar status?
You know what? He's got superstar ability. I think you're looking for that consistency. But what I looked for this year, PA, was catch me 60 to 85 balls, show me a full route tree, and he's doing that. And he's pushing 1,000 yards on the season, and he's a guy that he is a one-play touchdown machine. And if you don't take the right angle on him, he will score. He dropped the ball, a bit early in his career. That's not as significant a problem anymore. He's made some really, really tough contested catches, and Jared trusts him. And I think it's been fun to watch. And he's, for somebody who's had his ups and downs early in his career, he's such a good kid. I mean, there's just such a really fun life force that you get from him. His smile is electric. He's got some charisma. I'm really happy to see the success he's having. And I know the organization is too, because obviously they drafted him high and they expect big things.
Now, due to perhaps an unprecedented amount of key injuries, so many reserves have had to play many more snaps, specifically defensively, than planned. Are you sensing or hearing that the Lions are feeling some fatigue in certain spots? Maybe some guys are tired?
Well, they struggled last time out against San Francisco, and that defense. Look, there's questions on that defense. They've been good most of the year, and they've held it together. It felt like sometimes with sticks and glue, putting in, one game, 4 guys who hadn't even been here for a week. And, when you lose your best 2 defensive linemen in Aiden Hutchinson and Aleem McNeil, and you lose your best veteran cornerback in Carlton Davis, and you lose your most consistent linebacker in Alex Anzalone, and credit to Jack Campbell, he stepped up and really become a nice player.
Right.
But, man, that's hard. And Melifonwu, who played a big role at the end of last year, just started playing in the last 2 weeks. So, and then there's a bunch of other guys that weren't expected to play that big a role or be Pro Bowl adjacent, that are out too. So, I mean, you're talking 13, 14 guys on that defense that are missing, many of whom were expected to take significant snaps. So, they've held it together. But I think if there's a question, it is very much that defense. You saw it against San Francisco. They had a ton of guys running open, and that's going to be a huge challenge against this team. When you're healthy, this team with Jefferson and Addison and Hawkinson and Jones and Darnold playing the way he's playing, I mean, it's a tough ask. And I think if I'm looking at anything in this game, it is how do the Lions hold up against that passing attack? And can they find a way to sack Darnold 4 times in the first game? Can they find a way to affect him and slow that thing down? Because if Vikings are running open the way that 49ers were running open on Monday night in the first half in particular, it's a really tall order for this football team. But it's going to be fascinating to watch. It's been really incredible to see this season in the worst of ways just how that defense has been hit time after time after time by injuries. We thought it was bad when it was just Aiden. And oh no, where we go? But it's been exponentially worse after that.
It's unbelievable. I mean, and then Aleem McNeil late, and even like Khalil Dorsey. You mentioned Davis, but like guys like Dorsey,
Fox.
Dan Miller.
No doubt. And glue guy on special teams. And
right.
Good teams don't overlook that. I know the Vikings don't, the Lions don't. And the Lions felt like Dorsey was as good a special teams player as you'll find in this league. He's an outstanding gunner. He does give them some backup at cornerback, but, it's like death by 1,000 cuts. You keep losing these guys. They've found a way to overcome it, but it's not easy.
Malcolm Rodriguez, another one. So like, in watching the Niners game closely and just getting into some of the previous games, and I'm a big fan of your safeties, as are most in the NFL, Branch and Joseph. Now Branch, it's in essence like he's playing corner with these injuries, right?
Yeah, well, when Carlton Davis went down, they had to make a decision. What did they want to do? Did they want to send Kendall Vildor out there at corner? And what they did in a lot of these formations was they dropped Branch back down to nickel. They moved Robertson outside, and they put Melifonwu back in at safety.
Right.
So it was some rearranging there, significant rearranging. But, look, he came into this league as a nickel. This is his first year playing safety, so there's a comfort level there. And I think they just felt like that was still their best alignment. And Melifonwu, who's played for the last 2 weeks, gives them a physicality that they really want in the box as a safety that can drop down, that can blitz, that can do a lot of things. And they've missed him. He was scheduled to come back around week 8 or 9. They got hurt again. And he's just now getting back on the field. This will be the third week, I believe, for him. So, yeah, Branch is back down at nickel in a lot of these formations because of the loss of Carlton Davis and the way that they've had to shift guys around. The good thing is, as Davis went out, Melifonwu was coming back for the most part, so that softened the blow a little bit.
Dan, the man on the fan, for the Vikings defensively, I mean, honestly, they can't ask for more, and I almost feel bad saying it, but they're at full strength into this game defensively. When the teams met, I believe it was week 7, Ivan Pace Jr. didn't play, and second-year undrafted guy's been very big for Brian Flores' defense, specifically blitzing. Then you get to the other side of it with the metrics, and Goff against man-to-man defense and against the blitz is not good. He's elite. So like from a Vikings defensive standpoint, full strength. What do you think of that? Anything throw you off a little bit?
Yeah, and if I'm not wrong, Pierre, I think we missed Cashman the first time as well. And he's obviously, I may be wrong on that, but if memory serves, I don't think he played in that one or when you lost against the Rams.
Well, you're right. Cashman and Pace both out. Well stated.
Yeah. Look, full respect, and I know the Lions have full respect for the Vikings defense as well. And look, we've watched you guys closely all season. Oftentimes, thinking, can we get some help in this division? And the way that you guys have played, the ways that you guys have survived, the way that you guys have thrived, and it's, that's a terrific defense, and they've earned that respect. It's interesting. Both these defenses seem to give up some yardage in the past, but they don't give up a lot of points, and that's really the name of the game, and that's one thing Aaron Glenn harps on. And you can talk about all the numbers you want defensively for the Lions. How many points have they given up? Now, recently they've given up more than they'd like, but nonetheless, I think these are two good defensive teams, but I think the Lions have full respect for Minnesota, what they can do, the looks that they give you, the way that they make you guess. And I think that's where that offensive line can help with the experience that you talked about, because you better be operating as one when they give you 2 guys in the A gap, and you got to guess how many of those 6 guys are coming. And I think that's a big part of this game as well. Look, the Lions haven't turned the ball over in a couple games. They've had 4 takeaways in the last 2 games. That's been one of the reasons that they've been able to win. I think that could play a huge role in this game. That's not brain surgery. It's their science or anything like that. That's big in the NFL. You win the turnover battle, you win the game. But I really think in a game like this with 2 evenly matched teams, if somebody makes a mistake and gives up a possession, that could be really big.
Okay, reset 3-2. Cashman out, Pace played, had the scoop and score a touchdown.
Yes, I remember that.
That last couple here for Dan, the man on the fan box for the Detroit Lions. That Monday night win at San Francisco, it was hard fought, long, and physical. I just wonder if it has any impact on this upcoming Sunday night because it was just such a physical, long game.
Yeah, short weeks are never great. And we didn't know how they were going to play that. We didn't know if they were going to play the starters for a half and take them out. But, Dan Campbell had said all week, we're going in full bore. Now we kind of thought, okay, maybe he's just selling that in case Minnesota loses to Green Bay and he'll shift on Monday, but he didn't. And I think those players are all competitive. And once they got in it, they wanted to win it. Does it impact it? Look, it's not easy. We didn't get back till, 6:15 in the morning on Tuesday morning after that game. So everybody was off by a day and a half. But, man, there's so much on the line in this game. And they've got all day Sunday to rest as well. And sometimes that can even help you in a day like this. So it's not optimal. You'd rather have your regular rhythm of a regular week. But I don't think they'll look back at that and say it was the short week. I think this is going to be decided by two teams having a historic battle for a division title, which is just incredible, seeing 2-14-2 teams.
T-Wolves at Pistons the night before. How about that one? Maybe we find our way to some ducats and we go to that game and chill.
Yeah, listen, the Pistons are more fun to watch. Terrible to see what happened to Jaden Ivey last night, but they've already surpassed the number of games they won last year, so we're having a lot more fun, watching them. I know you guys had quite a ride last year, so we'll make it more competitive than we would have a year ago in that one.
I appreciate you, man. God bless you and your family. Look forward to seeing you on the field Sunday, all right?
Thanks, PA. Safe travels. Be fun.
See you, man. Dan Miller. Dan, the man on the fan, play-by-play voice for the Detroit Lions. Alex Anzalone. Alex Anzalone, the wounded linebacker for the Detroit Lions, been out quite some time. Went limited in practice yesterday, and the box is leaning that Anzalone will play. And that'll help Detroit's defense because he's quite the high-end blitzer from the edge spot. Vikings and Detroit Lions, old acquaintances reuniting with the most on the line in the history of the division rivalry between the two. More on that around the corner. You're listening to KFAN.
Minnesota is so hot.
All right, biggest game in the history of the Vikings and Lions. This will be the 127th game between the two. Minnesota leads the series 80-44 and a couple of ties. Vikings and Lions Sunday night, KFAN. And as these old acquaintances get together for the game at 7:20 on KFAN, for yours truly, this will be the 46th Vikings-Lions game I get to call and 23rd at Ford Field. First 10 on the microphone for this bit, the Vikings won every one. Took them down 16 of the first 17, too. Then the Vikings won 8 in a row from 2017 to 2021. But now, the worm has turned. Now the Lions have won 4 in a row, and Sunday streak stopping for our squad means top dog in the NFC and a game at U.S. Bank Stadium in a couple of weeks. Now, through it all, there have been some memorable, sad, and quirky moments. To the quirky desk, and here's Mad Producer.
One of my favorite things as a Vikings fan is going and pouring through some of the old highlights and moments of our squad against some of our greatest rivals, and the Kitties being in the division, certainly one of them. You mentioned those early winning ways. As we start out and work our way from 2004 to now. I picked 04. Weird ending to this game, PA. It was an absolute shootout in the second half. Burleson puts the Vikes up 21-13 midway through the fourth. Roy Williams hadn't scored a touchdown in like 2 months. Joey Harrington hits him with about 6 minutes left. Then it's Mo Williams. It's a heavyweight fight. Listen to these names.
The old names are the bomb.
But with the $1:37 left in the game, the Lions have the ball and a chance to tie the game. And here's just a moment of you ripping on one of our players that, well, put the Lions in a good spot.
Derek Rowe.
Interference. 37 defense. The ball occurred in the end zone. We'll place the ball on the 1-yard line. First down.
Can he do anything right with the money on the line? I mean, last week it was 3rd and 7 against Seattle. Somehow he ended up against Darrell Jackson, who beat him badly to keep the ball in the hands of the Seahawks. And there he just shoves Roy Williams out of bounds. It was obvious pass interference.
Now it's first and goal from the 1, and the Vikings are going to use one of their 3 timeouts.
Jeez.
What's wrong?
The Vikings call timeout.
9 penalties, 70 yards for the Vikings. Who was the player? I didn't know Cam Dantzler played in 2004.
Derek Ross?
Oh, geez, Derek Ross.
Does that name ring a bell?
Vaguely.
Very next play, because it is indeed first and goal at the 1. The Lions tie it up.
2 receivers right, 1 left. Kevin Jones, the single set. First and goal from the 1. 28-21 Vikes. Harrington fade left to Williams. Caught. Touchdown. He went up and got it over Brian Williams, and we are an extra point from being tied. Second touchdown today for Roy Williams, a man who had no touchdowns the last 2 months of football. And he's having one of his, if not his best day as a pro today.
Boy, and can you imagine that your season's going to come down to a coin toss? Meaning if you get the ball, you luckily, no one's been able to stop anybody here in the fourth quarter. You go down and kick the field goal and get out of here with a win.
Jason Hansen on for the extra point. Oh, bad snap. They botched it, and he's taken down. Ball game. The Detroit Lions imploded. And the Vikings have gone to 8-6.
How about that? And what did I tell you? Detroit does not believe that they can win. And they will find a way to lose. How about that? They found a way to lose.
They blew the extra point.
28-17. There was some audio on the back end of that. You just absolutely crushed rookie lawn snapper Don Muehlbach.
Come on!
With the bad snap.
Wow, he ended
that led to the victory.
Ended up being one of my favorites.
To 2006, PA.
Mm-hmm.
It was a game, I believe, that the Minnesota Vikings ultimately had in hand, but they were down 17-3 at one point, and the reason they were down 17-3, check out the name on this guy.
It is 10-3 Detroit. Hey, Greg, the Vikings offense has hit the skids, no doubt. But if you look out there at the defense right now on 2nd and 10 from the 12, you see some guys who need to get a little pumped up.
Yeah, they do. And Mike Tomlin has these guys' number. I mean, they're very disciplined. They'll bend, but they might not break.
Trips right, 1 receiver left, empty backfield. John Kitna back to pass, dumps it left. Caught Dan Campbell, 10-5, touchdown. He dropped it in the end zone. It's up for grabs. No signal from the officials yet. Dan Campbell got right down to the goal line. Then he dropped the ball, and it was recovered by center Dominic Raiola. And the Detroit Lions, 0-4, losers, 9 of their last 10 games, have taken a 16-3 lead.
How about that?
Dan Campbell,
head coach of the Detroit Lions.
That's awesome.
Was dropping L's on the Vikings back in 2006. By the way, there was some discussion. The touchdown did not go to Raiola. It did ultimately go to Dan Campbell, one of his 4 that season.
Yeah.
Do you remember the former head coach at one point as a beef-eating tight end for multiple teams, including the Detroit Lions?
Vaguely. I remember he played for the Dallas Cowboys. Our next guest in studio, Ben Lieber, courtesy of Maple Grove Lock and Safe. He will have more vivid memories than me because he probably checked him a couple of times.
Yeah, absolutely. And speaking of memories and speaking of our next guest, down 17-3, Travis Taylor, who you killed in that game, too. He had a couple games in a row with bad fumbles. And Brad Johnson's having an awful game and just needs a little help from his guys, and Taylor puts it on the turf.
Mm-hmm.
Taylor redeems himself with a touchdown to begin the fourth quarter. And on the very next possession, a new linebacker in town making memories and stuffing that stat sheet.
Kevin Jones has run the ball 8 times for 2 yards. John Kitna, 16 of 25, $171-1. Roy Williams, the outstanding receiver, has been out of the game since the first drive. Furry in motion left to right, 2nd and 6 from the 14. Kitna. Oh, Pat Williams, the ball's loose. Touchdown! Touchdown, Ben Lieber! Pat Williams stripped John Kitna, and Ben Lieber has scored his first National Football League touchdown.
That is taking advantage of a situation. That was absolutely an incredible play by Pat Williams that time. Just as you described, Paul, came through untouched. Nobody Nobody blocked Pat Williams, and he strips Kitna, and Ben Lieber picks the ball up.
That is the Vikings' first fumble return touchdown since November of 2004. Kevin Williams against Jacksonville. And now it's starting to get really heated in the center of the line as Marcus Johnson and Jared DeVries start to mix it up.
Listen to those names.
The Detroit Lions at 0-4 have a touch of implosion to them right now.
And that made it 17-17 after, it was... No, Longwell missed the extra point,
Yeah.
Longwell would kick a short field goal. It was E.J. Henderson that shut the door with a 45-yard pick six with about 90 seconds to go. How about Lieber getting the touchdown?
Yes.
Dan Campbell getting a touchdown, weaving our way through these weird games and all the connections that these two teams have.
Right, and the Vikings lost. The Vikings won the game that day, right?
They won it. It was 26-17.
Okay, they lost a game to the Lions around that time, where Longwell and Jason Hansen were in essence having a one-on-one battle to see who could miss more kicks. And then Hansen eventually hit one, I believe, in overtime for the Lions to win.
Now we're going to head to 2008 PA. Now, 2008, it was a 12-10 win for the Vikings. So points were, of course, at a premium, which means you can't give anything away to the other team. But here comes along a rookie by the name of Dan Orlovsky.
Orlovsky out of the shotgun. Greenway cheats up to the line of scrimmage. 3rd and 10 from the Detroit 1. Snap to Orlovsky. He's back to pass. He ran out of the end zone. Safety. Dan Orlovsky forced out of the end zone by an on-charging Jared Allen. 2-0 Vikings. And I can't understand for the life of me why an offensive coordinator would think that Casey Fitzsimmons, a tight end, is going to be able to block Jared Allen. Jared Allen ran through him like he was standing still. And Orlovsky, it's not even close. I mean, he's 2 yards outside of the end zone. It's a rookie mistake. It's a young mistake by the kid. But, here we go. The defense stepping up.
Anything you remember from that 08 game, the 12-10 debacle for Dan Orlovsky?
Yes. It sounded better on the radio to say he was forced out of the end zone by an on-charging Jared Allen. I mean, Jared might have been a good 10 feet from him. So it was Orlovsky just completely losing his compass and not knowing where to go. But a 2-0 score sounded weird.
Yeah, 12-10 the victory there in the end. And then the Vikings finished the 2000s. They were 18-2 over the Lions in the 2000s. 2010 they split. That was a weird year, Favre and all of that. But at least they won at home. 13 consecutive wins at home over Detroit. Now, streaks are meant to be broken, I suppose. Week 3 at the Metrodome in OT. Here's, I should have played this for Dan, a younger Dan Miller on the call.
Jason Hansen will go for the 32-yard field goal in the win. Hash mark left side. The Lions trying to come all the way back from a 20-0 deficit and win it in overtime.
Wow.
Hansen steadies himself. Donahue sets, spot down, kick on the way. It is up, and it is good. And the Lions have won it, going home with a victory. First time since 1997 that the Lions have won here in Minneapolis.
How about that?
Wow.
A 13-year win streak at home for the Vikings, snapped in OT by Jason Hansen. And that was also, I think they swept that season for the first time. The Lions did for the first time since 97 as well. You can jump ahead a little bit in this because Vikings handled business the next couple of times. Vikings win 14-13 in the final game in the Metrodome in the 2013 season. 2014, they're swept. If you remember Glover Quinn and Tyre Whitehead at the College Stadium, picking off a rookie Teddy Bridgewater a bunch. 2015, you sweep. On the purple side of things, sadly, the season ended the way that it did. So that brings us the first Vikings-Lions game against Detroit at the new, fresh, new car smell U.S. Bank Stadium. You got Matt Prater forcing OT from like 59 yards out, and then this happens.
3rd and 8, 2 receivers, right, 1 left. Riddick to the left of Stafford, 16-16 in overtime. Stafford back to pass on 3rd down, passes left, caught Golden Tate at the 15. Spins away to the 10, dives to the end zone. And the Detroit Lions have won the game if they say it's a touchdown or he may be out at the 2.
Here's the thing, Paul. He was double covered. You had Xavier Rhodes and Harrison Smith double covering him.
The Detroit Lions have won the game.
Do you remember that moment, by the way? It was, I think Xavier Rhodes tried to push him out, just I'd say very weakly, and then he gets by him, and then Hitman just tried to lay a shoulder into him.
And missed.
And he basically helicopters into the end zone. Golden Tate does.
Yeah.
And they come out with a victory that first game at U.S. Bank Stadium.
The visual of that play, other side of the field about the 20, reminds me of the Minneapolis Miracle play with Stephon Diggs on the other side of the field with Marcus Williams, the Utah rookie safety, and the cup. It's not the same, but it's in the same fishbowl, just under a different rock, just with Harrison at the end reminding me of Marcus Williams.
So that's 2016. Now, 2017 was kind of sad. You lose 14-7 at home. You lose Dalvin Cook for the remainder of his rookie year, tearing his ACL against the Kitties. You cook him on Turkey Day, so that's good. But 2018, the Vikings were back to their winning ways and putting Stafford on the turf a record number of times.
2nd and 10 from the 11. Stafford, shotgun, 5-step drop, flustered, and he is sacked! And that's a team record! 10 sacks today for the Minnesota Vikings, and Danielle Hunter has 3.5. Congratulations, Danielle. You should be the NFC Defensive Player of the Week with that touchdown and 3.5 sacks. Well done, young man.
Yeah, you mentioned it there. That was very late in the game, maybe less than 2 minutes, I believe, when I pulled it. Hunter did have the 30-yard fumble return TD in that game. I think he was the NFC Defensive Player of the Week. How fun was that one, setting the record in sacks, watching Stafford hit the turf, and really dominating them the way the Vikings did the first season with Kirk Cousins.
Just another notch in the toughness belt that is Matthew Stafford. I mean, how do you stay in the game after 8?
Yeah.
And then after 9, and then after 10. I mean, he was sacked 10 times. Danielle 3.5. I think Everson Griffin had 2.5. And it just kept coming. It was a common thread that was second to none.
Now, as you mentioned it when you opened the segment, the Vikings then, that was part of, I believe, that was part of 8 consecutive victories until 2021. Now, the Lions, a team used to losing, a team that had trouble winning. As a matter of fact, I don't believe they had won in more than a calendar year until it came down to the wire at Ford Field. 2021.
And here it is with 4 seconds to go in the game. 27-23 Vikings. Jared Goff, 3 receivers left, 1 right. He goes out of the shotgun. He takes the snap from Evan Brown. He's going to fire to the end zone. It's caught. Touchdown, Detroit Lions. And these cardiac kitties have beaten the Minnesota Vikings and won a game for the first time in 364 days. The game-winning touchdown was caught by Amon-Ra St. Brown. And for that young man, his first National Football League touchdown is a memorable one. It beat the Minnesota Vikings 29-27.
So, PA, who lost their position in the end zone more? Dan Orlovsky running out of it in 2008 or Cam Dantzler backpedaling into the end zone in 2021?
No idea what was happening on that play. The Lions, as you heard, had not won a football game in a year. Their fans, because of the pandemic, had not seen a victory at Ford Field in more than 2 years.
Oh, wow,
and they weren't selling out at that time. So, I mean, that crowd that you heard was, it was just letting everything out because, A, they hadn't witnessed a victory in right around 2 years. Amon-Ra St. Brown was new, and they knew they liked him. He now has like 36 touchdowns. That was the first. He threw a touchdown to Jared Goff earlier this year. He's a high-ender. And finally, that was I believe that was the penultimate game of the season.
In 2021, yeah.
Yep, so that was the second to last game Mike Zimmer would coach with the Minnesota Vikings.
Well, actually, it was early December. I think it was the penultimate had to be, it was the Packers game, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Wasn't Kirk out with COVID, and then it's Sean Mannion over the middle?
Oh, yes.
Yeah, that's...
Yeah. And Mond, didn't he play? And
no, he didn't play because people asked him after Zimmer, the game.
Yeah.
Or he may have come in for a series just because Mannion was hurt.
Right.
And I think he just had like a paper cut or something. It was tough times for the Vikings QB room.
Zimmer asked after the game, why didn't you play Kellen Moore or something like that?
Yeah, I see him every day.
See him every day in practice. That was it. So That was the final month of Mike's coaching tenure here.
It was. Now let's transition to the first year of Kevin O'Connell's tenure, a magical regular season in a lot of ways. 2022, Vikings were down 10 into the final frame. Alexander Madison with a score midway through the fourth, and in the final seconds, KJ was clutch.
Madison motions to the backfield. Cousins out of the shotgun with no timeouts, trailing 24-21. Takes the snap, straight drop. He's going to fire right. Yes! KJ Osborne! You're so cold-blooded! Touchdown! And the Vikings have taken a 27-24 lead.
That was early 2022, still in September, I believe. And that's also the last time the Vikings beat the Lions, the ugly ones last season with backup QBs. We saw the heavyweight fight earlier this year, chronicled some of it with Dan Miller, but the Kitties now 4 straight. Detroit over the Vikings. Streaks are meant to be broken, PA, and it could be broken on Sunday.
Will this be one of those shootouts reminiscent of the OK Corral? Or is there a side of it maybe we're not thinking about right now? Ben Lieber has played in this matchup. Ben Lieber analyzes this matchup, and he joins 9 to noon around the corner on KFAN.